What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Aha. And we're going back to the very early days to listen to another demo from the bonus disc of the Hunting High and Low Deluxe Edition. Once again, shout out to Sofia. And we're going to listen to the first tune that isn't given that nearness, I don't know how you pronounce it, but that bracketed subtitle. And maybe I spoke in a way that was a bit confusing last time. When I talk about a recording session, you know, I'm aware that they often take weeks or even months to take place. So I didn't mean that like the first several demos on this disc were all done like in the same night, like they went into the studio one time. But my understanding, and especially if they're listed that way, with these, I think it's like the first 5, have that bracketed subtitle, then I would assume those are all from the same larger session. This is the first track on the disc that doesn't have that bracketed subtitle. So I'm assuming this was recorded in a different session. Either way, I don't recognize the title, but given that Lesson 1 was actually an early version of Take On Me, it begs the question of whether this might be an earlier formulation of a track that became something else on one of their proper releases. It could just be a demo that never came to full fruition, never made its way to one of their albums. But the phrase itself, dot the I, it speaks to the larger phrase, dot your I's, cross your T's, the idea of not being in so much of a rush to finish something that you end up failing to detect and ultimately correct a number of perhaps very easily correctable mistakes. So it's not looking to where you want to be such that you end up not taking the journey in the full and proper way. It's basically a warning or a request to be meticulous and careful when it comes to the final stages of some project. So it's interesting to think about, you know, a group in their earliest days, just trying to get a sense of what their style, what their sound's going to be, and that sort of concept. So we'll see what they do with it, and again, we'll see if this is related to another tune. And if I don't immediately recognize it, I want to apologize in advance if it is actually an earlier version of a later track. In any case, this is Aha. The track is called Dot the I, and it's included on a bonus disc of 25 demo tracks from the deluxe edition of their debut album, Hunting High and Low.
Stretch your lips and smile. Let the world run by. Be the fool. Tomorrow morning's here, and I'm all nonsense, dear. I see, I know, I hear you say, come here, come close to me. Trust your kite to fly. I could lend your mind. Spot the gag. Tiki-taki, light a fire. Pass it on to me. I see, I know, I hear you say, come here, come close to me. Love happened to happen, you see. I see, I know, I hear you say, come here, come close to me. Love happened to happen.
It's like a big dissonance, yeah?
Oh.
Just in moments.
I see, I know, I hear you say, come here, come close to me. Love happens to happen, you see. I see, I know, I hear you say, come here, come close to me. Love happened to happen to me.
Interesting. Like, again, like thinking about signing something and dotting the I, the idea of like finalizing a contract where the both symbolically and quite literally, like by doing that, by putting the I after, because, if you're writing in cursive, you do the I after you've written the rest of the word. So in that context, dotting the I, it's the like once you do that, it's official. Everything, entailed in whatever is specified there instantly comes into effect, or whenever it's specified to come into effect. So in that sense, it maybe seems more specific, maybe, less general about, just being careful to not overlook little details that might become problematic or be annoying after the fact, but which, the time for which you could adjust it has passed. Yeah, it feels like maybe it's more, if not specific to them as a band or something, at least the idea that once you dot the I, there's no easy way of changing what you've committed yourself to. So, yeah, curious to hear what people say. Like, a couple lines, like I just happened, what was it, I happened to be in love or something like that. That line felt familiar, but as far as I know, that's not an earlier version of another tune. I'm sure I'll be wrong and I'll be quite annoyed at myself, but in the moment, it didn't hit me that way. So if it is, the skeleton or an early rendition of something they did later, do let me know, because, yeah, in the moment, it didn't come back to me in that way. But yeah, again, we have one of those crazy vocal moments from Morten. Not the full like rooster crow, but definitely a sort of like a whoop, I guess you could say, a sort of enthusiastic whoop. So it does seem, like they were really trying to peg down just, how expressive, or just how, not expressive, that's the wrong word, just how extreme he might go in his vocal work, which, ultimately, we also got that soaring Morten where he goes, he's at sort of a terrestrial level and he goes up into the stratosphere and then goes into outer space with like the highest level. And it's like when he went to that second one, it was like, oh, clearly he's going to push it even higher. And sure enough, that's what happened. So yeah, it's like we hear a moment of his that is indicative of the really early experimental stage, and yet another vocal that, becomes, I think, a staple of a lot of their songs, and, why they soar the way they do. So yeah, really cool to go back to some of this stuff. Shout out again to Sofia. We'll go through this whole thing. I'll probably do a few of these and then we'll switch back to something else. So yeah, I'll try to keep the aha reactions coming at least as regularly as I can, and ultimately I will continue to be as regular as I can with the weekly schedule with the other three, which again, sometimes there's some grumblings about that, but as I say to those people, it's like each deep dive is its own thing, and I encourage people not to like compare one deep dive to others, or to feel like their deep dive is being slighted because it takes a little bit longer to get back around to it. It's just, there's other people, including some deep dives that aren't followed by very many people, but the handful of people who do follow them are like super enthusiastic. So I'm just trying to balance everything. I know a number of you are, beyond sympathetic to that, so I do highly thank you. But as I said, we'll go through a few more of these demos, maybe go back and finish off the remainder of ending on a high note, and then we'll go from there. So, and indeed, I think there was a suggestion that I haven't gone through as much of, what was it, How Can I Sleep With Your Voice in my head as I thought I had, so we'll figure out what's going on there. It's possible that maybe I skipped over tunes or something, and then I started going through them in order so that I didn't actually go through it all, but I thought I was, or I thought I did. Either way, we'll figure it out. Let me know what you think of this one. Do let me know, and I will see you next time.